Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Alhamdulillah. This is now episode 35 of the podcast The Forward, myself, Mahdi Locke. And today we are going to talk about the month of Rajab, which we have entered. We are a few days in. And Alhamdulillah, I have a article on this called Word of the Month for Rajab that I translated almost 3 years ago. This is by Asma Ramadan, the daughter of Sheikh Tawfiq Ramadan al-Bolti, and therefore the granddaughter of Imam Muhammad Sa'id Ramadan al-Bolti, rahimahullah. And a very, very useful article covering the significance of Rajab. What should we be doing in Rajab? How do we benefit from Rajab? And how does it fit in, or how it fits in with the other months of the year, and especially the other sacred months. So it's on my blog. I'll put the link below. So I will basically read off of this and comment here and there, like where I feel necessary. So inshallah, because I've understood that not everyone reads, not everyone has the time to read. So sometimes it's a good idea to take blog posts and sort of recycle them in the form of a podcast. And we rely on Allah. With Him alone is every success. So she starts off. Asma Ramadan, she says, "Praise be to Allah, Lord of all creation. Praise that complies with His blessings and compensates His abundance. And blessings and peace be upon our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah's blessings and peace be upon him and all his family and his companions." To proceed. So she says, after this, she says that both Imams al-Bukhari and Muslim have related in their two Sahih collections from the hadith of our Master Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave a khutbah in his farewell pilgrimage, and in that khutbah he said, "Indeed, time has come full circle and returned to how it was the day Allah created the heavens and the earth. The year is 12 months, and 4 of them are sacred, 3 of which are in succession, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram, and the other is Rajab Mudar, which comes between Jumada and Sha'ban," and the rest of the hadith, because obviously it's much longer hadith. And this hadith, I mean, there's an ayah that goes with it, which is Surah Tawbah 36. Just to comment on this, I remember I was looking at this hadith last summer as well, looking at these months like Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah and the significance of Hajj, because this hadith was given, this khutbah was given when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did his last Hajj. And this idea, what he says about time coming around full circle. Now, as we're going to see in the ayah below, which comes below this, which is Surah Tawbah 36, this has to do with the primary meaning of this hadith is referring to the fact that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the command of Allah, is bringing time back in the sense of putting time back where it's supposed to be, putting the calendar and the calculation of time back where they're supposed to be, because the idol worshippers in Mecca were in the habit of playing around with the time, moving months around, moving the sacredness of certain months to other months, moving Hajj around to different times of the year, just so that they could have their fighting in certain months and then not be fighting in other months. They're just, to be very straightforward, they were just messing around with the calendar. So what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam does in the farewell pilgrimage, and then also we have the ayah in Surah Tawbah 36, the right calculation and monitoring of time is reestablished and is put firmly in place. Because Allah says in the verse, I may as well just quote it now. So this is what Asma Ramadan puts in an article. Surah Tawbah 36, Allah says, "There have been 12 months with Allah in the book of Allah, from the day He first created the heavens and the earth. 4 of them are sacred. That is the true religion. So do not wrong one another during them. However, fight the idolaters totally, just as they fight you totally, and know that Allah is with the God-fearing." So this is what is being reestablished. There are 12 months in the year. This is how it's been from the very beginning, from the day Allah created the heavens and the earth, and 4 of them are sacred. And we know from the hadith what those 4 months are. That's Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, and Rajab. So do not wrong one another during them. And in the tafsir literature, this refers to what for example, Imam Wahab Zuhayli rahimahullah says in his Tafsir al-Wasit, he says that because it's a sacred month, or these are all sacred months, and this includes Rajab, you should be extra careful regarding committing sins. You should be extra careful. You should put in extra effort to avoid sins, and you should put in extra effort to put in good deeds and to commit good deeds, because obviously there are things. It's the same things are always halal, the same things are always haram, but you should be putting more effort in because of the sacredness of this month. As for the last part of the ayah, however, fight the idolaters totally, just as they fight you totally. Know the law is with the God-fearing. Again, this refers to the fact that Muslims are allowed to fight back. This is essentially what's being referred to here, because again, we're talking about Islam being a system of governance that once the Muslims were in Medina, because again, we're talking about Surah At-Tawbah here. This is why mushrikun are mentioned a lot in Surah At-Tawbah, because this is where they appear, in Medina. And I've mentioned this before in the podcast on prophets and warfare. And this is also mentioned. There was a discussion with Al-Hajj Abu Ja'far al-Hanbali. And there's also episode 1 of this podcast. Quick recap, just to tell you this, that the difference between Mecca and Medina is that once the Muslims are in Medina, as opposed to in Mecca, once the Muslims are in Medina, they basically have 3 things. They have territory. They actually have geographical territory that they live on and they rule over. Number 2, there's a community. There's a Muslim community. And number 3, there is a governance structure, right, headed by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So you have that. You have sort of a political structure or a governing structure, whatever you want to call it. I don't like to use the word state, because it immediately implies bureaucracy and all kinds of other nonsense. So you have a governing structure. You have a community, what might be called a citizenry in modern parlance, and then you have a geographical territory. So once you have those 3 things in place, then obviously you have to be prepared to defend it. Because now there's something to defend. There's land to defend. There are people to defend. There's a structure to defend. So what Allah is saying in this verse is that you are permitted to defend it. Yes, these are sacred months, and yes, you should be engaged in worship and good deeds, but if the idol worshippers attack you in this time, then you are permitted to fight back. You're permitted to defend yourself. And if you were to take that logically, just think every country on the face of the earth, has, any entity out there that has territory, that has a citizenry, that has a government, has a military. Common sense, because there's something to defend. Everyone has this. I don't know why people get so shocked when they read about this in Islam, but yeah, every country has this. Now, if it became public knowledge that a certain country simply would not fight in certain months, just imagine that there was a country in the world, whether it was Russia or China or the United States or whatever, there was some country and it was made public knowledge that, oh yeah, these countries refuse to fight, they refuse to attack, I don't want to say attack, they refuse to engage in battle at all at certain times of the year. Wouldn't that make them vulnerable to attack? Just something to think about. Because people get so worked up about the whole violence issue, but just think about this logically, because people have to understand when we're talking about Islam, we're talking about, it's not just a spiritual path, so to speak. We're talking about a system of governance. That's why we have long legal textbooks dealing with all these things, dealing with governance, dealing with corporal punishment, dealing with marriage and divorce, dealing with warfare, because it's a complete system, and it's something that people in the Anglosphere are wary of talking about, don't want to talk about. But then it's like, well, how do you explain all these verses about fighting then? That's the only way they make sense. And that's why there's another blog post I should probably put below called Religion of Peace in quotation marks, which fleshes this out a bit further. But anyway, I don't want to digress any further. I want to get back to the topic of Rajab. So Asma Ramadan, she continues, and she says, "Thus Allah, glorified is He, has informed us that since the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the creation of night and day both have revolved in their orbits, and as a result we have the darkness of the night and the whiteness of the day. And that was when the year was made to comprise 12 months based on the sighting of the crescent moon. Okay, so this is how we determine our months. We sight the crescent moon. And I was looking at the tafsir. Imam Muhammad Zuhaili, like he points out, this is something that's very, very easy to do. Whether you're, a city person or a countryside person, you can see the moon. You can see the moon changing shape as the month passes. She continues. She says, therefore, the year in the revealed law is measured according to the moon and its ascending, not the sun and its passage through the zodiac, as is done by the people of the book, i.e. the Jews and the Christians. From these months, Allah, glorified and exalted, has made 4 sacred, and the Prophet ﷺ clarified which ones they are in the aforementioned hadith. There has been a difference of opinion as to which of the sacred months is best. One opinion is that it is Rajab, and that is the opinion of some of the Shafis, and it was declared weak by Imam an-Nawawi and others. Another opinion is that it is al-Muharram, and this is the preferred opinion of Imam an-Nawawi. And obviously she's calling Imam an-Nawawi because he is a major authority in the Shafi school. I mean, basically Imam an-Nawawi, who died in the 7th century Hijri, I mean, since his time onwards, we're now looking at basically a period of almost 800 years. The Shafi madhab is either his word or a commentary on his word, or a commentary on a commentary of his word. That's his position in the madhab. She continues, Asma Ramadan, she says, still another opinion is that it is Dhul Hijjah, and this has been related from Sa'id ibn Jubair and others, and it is the more prominent position, and Allah knows best. And obviously Dhul Hijjah is the month in which the Hajj takes place. She continues, she says, his statement, may Allah bless him, grant him peace, indeed time has come full circle and returned to how it was the day Allah created the heavens and the earth, the year is 12 months, is a nullification of the deferring of months that was done in the age of ignorance. And I referred to this before, I mentioned this before. This changing around and pushing back months that was done by the idol worshippers and Jahiliyyah. But she continues, she says, as people in the age of ignorance would swap the sacred months with other months according to their needs. Right, just changing it because we need to do it here, we need to do it there, right? And it's something to think about. I mean, I may as well throw this in here. I mean, look what happens, especially in places like, I've seen this myself. Look what happens in the United Kingdom, for example. I can't really comment on America because I don't know, but I've seen this in the United Kingdom where people actually sit down and decide as a masjid or as a masjid committee and say, like, when should we do Eid? When should we start Ramadan? But specifically, I've seen this quite a few times now. And you can see videos. I saw horrific videos last year of various masajid in the United Kingdom, sitting down saying, when should we do Eid? What day is more convenient for you? Should we do it on Monday or should we do it on Tuesday? Right? Does anyone have to go to work? Does anyone have to go to university? Does anyone have a wedding plan? Does anyone have an appointment? This is not how you do it. Right? The months of the year, because again, Eid is the beginning of a new month. Eid is the beginning of the month of Shawwal. You can't just decide by masjid committee when you're going to do this. It depends. It's all about the study of the moon, as she has mentioned above. So that's something to think about. But this is what they would do in the age of Jahiliyyah. They would sit down and they would swap around the sacred months according to their needs. She continues and she says, there's also been a difference of opinion as to why these 4 months are called sacred, why they're called haram, right? Which is the original meaning of the word, sacred, or another meaning of the word. One opinion is that it's because of their esteemed sanctity and the unlawfulness of committing sins therein. And it has been related from Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that he said, Allah has singled out 4 months and made them sacred. He has esteemed their sanctity and made sinning therein weightier, and he has made righteous action and its reward weightier. Ka'ab said, Allah has chosen time, and the most beloved of it to Allah is the sacred months. So Allah has chosen like a part of time, and he's made some of it more sacred than others, or more sacred than other times. Okay, to continue. She continues, she says, another opinion is that they are called haram because fighting is unlawful therein, and this was known in the age of ignorance. because that's how it used to be in the days of Jahiliyyah, that it was lawful to fight in those months. Another opinion is that the reason these months remain sacred out of all other months is to facilitate the performance of Hajj and Umrah, and therefore the month of Dhul Hijjah has been made sacred because Hajj takes place therein, and the month of Dhul Qa'dah has been made sacred along with it because that's when the journey towards Hajj is made. The month of Muharram has likewise been made sacred because that's when the return journey from Hajj is made, so that the pilgrim can feel safe and secure from the moment he leaves his house to the moment he returns. Right? So that's what she's saying, that you have Dhul Qa'dah is the first month, Dhul Hijjah is the month in which the Hajj takes place, and then the month following that is Muharram. So those months are sacred, and there should not be any fighting therein, so that the pilgrim, the one going for Hajj, can go to Hajj and come back safely. And as for Rajab, she says, the month of Rajab has been made sacred so that Umrah can be performed in the middle of the year, and thus those who are close to Mecca perform Umrah therein. She continues. She says, regarding his statement, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rajab Mudar, Rajab is called Rajab because it is held in awe. The word in Arabic is Yurajab, right? It's exalted. Another opinion is that the angels devote themselves to glorifying and praising Allah in this month. As for being added to Mudar, like this word Mudar is added to it, Rajab Mudar, one opinion is that the people of Mudar would greatly exalt and respect this month, and thus was attributed to them. Another opinion is that the people of Rabi'ah would make Ramadan sacred, while the people of Mudar made the Rajab sacred, and thus was called the Rajab Mudar, and this is verified by a statement which becomes between Jumada and Sha'ban, right? Because Sha'ban is the month after Rajab, and it's the month before Ramadan. So Rajab is the 7th month of the year. She also says, some have mentioned that the month of Rajab has 14 names. It's called the month of Allah, Rajab, Rajab Mudar, Munsil al-Sinna, al-Assam, Munaffis, Mutahhir, Muqim, Harim, Muqashqish, Mubarri', Fard, and so forth. So these are all that she's, mashallah, what she's doing here. She's just gathering various sources together, various books together, and just showing you what ulama have said over the centuries regarding this month. She continues and she says, there are several rulings attached to the month of Rajab, some of which come from the age of ignorance, and the scholars have differed as to whether they continue to apply in Islam, such as the prohibition of fighting. The majority hold the position that such a prohibition was abrogated. Another example is ritual sacrifices, as people in the age of ignorance would slaughter an animal and call it al-altira, and the scholars have differed regarding its ruling in Islam. The majority hold the position that Islam nullified it. Abu Dawud and An-Nasa'i have related on the authority of Nubaysha that they said, O Messenger of Allah, we did the Atir in the age of ignorance, i.e. in Rajab. He responded, sacrifice for Allah in any month, and obey Allah and feed people. Alright, we continue. Again, I apologize for my mouse clicking. I'm reading the English translation, my translation of this article, and sometimes I just want to just switch back to the Arabic to make sure I'm on point and make sure I've got pronunciations correct for the sake of this podcast. She continues. She says, it is on the authority of Al-Hasan, may Allah be pleased with him, that he said, there's no atira in Islam. Atira was only in the age of ignorance. Someone would fast the month of Rajab and do the Atira therein. A sacrifice would make Rajab a season, most of them followed by a festival for eating sweets and the like. And it is related from Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with them, that he disliked making a festival for Rajab. Yeah, so as I just said, to be careful. So the word is Atira, or Atira with a ya, ain ta ya ra ta marbuta. Now, she continues, and she says, Tabarani and Ibn Majah have related from Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that he said, the Prophet ﷺ would forbid fasting the entire month of Rajab so as to avoid a festival being made for it. Right, so there should be no Eid in Rajab. This is what we're looking at here. There shouldn't be an Eid. Fasting there is praiseworthy, obviously, because it's a sacred month, and fasting is a great act of worship. But don't do excessive fasting there, and don't try to fast the whole month, because then that would make people think that, oh, then it's like Ramadan, and then you have to have an Eid, right? So then you start inventing things when there really is no authority to do so. She continues, she says, in the Musannaf, this is the Musannaf Ibn Abi Shayba, on the authority of Ma'mar, on the authority of Ibn Tawus, on the authority of his father, who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not make a month a festival, nor a day a festival. And the foundation of this is that it has not been legislated for the Muslims to make anything a festival apart from what has come in the revealed law as a festival, which is the day of Al-Fitr and the day of Al-Adha, followed by the days of Tashriq. Right? So this is what Eid is. Do not call something an Eid. Right? You only have Eid al-Fitr and you have Eid al-Adha. You have two Eids. That's it. These are the annual festivals. Well, Friday is the weekly festival. Friday is the weekly Eid. Apart from these, making anything else a festival or a season is an innovation. It's a bid'ah, and it has no basis in the revealed law. So nothing else is an Eid. Right? Our Eid are two. It's Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha. That's it. And Friday is a weekly Eid. Okay, so now we have some of the rulings of Rajab, what has been mentioned regarding fasting, prayer, and Umrah. As for prayer, nothing has been authentically related regarding Rajab having any specific prayer that is exclusive to it. The ahadith have been related regarding the virtue of Salat al-Raga'ib are false, baseless, and inauthentic. This prayer is an innovation, according to the vast majority of scholars, and this has been mentioned by the following prominent latter-day scholars and memorizers of hadith: Abu Ismail, Abu Bakr as-Sam'ani, Abu Fadl ibn Nasir, Abu Faraj ibn al-Jawzi, and others. The earlier scholars didn't mention it because it was invented after them. It first appeared after the year 400 AH, i.e. in the Hijri calendar, and therefore the earlier scholars never knew about it or spoke of it. Even Imam Nawawi, may Allah have mercy on him, in his book Al-Majmu', this is Al-Majmu' Sharh al-Muhadhab, it's like, you could probably say it's the ultimate reference work of the Shafi'i Madhab. It comes to something like 27 volumes. Massive book detailing every position, every fiqhi position, and the proofs for it, and what the ulama before him said on the matter. And he obviously discusses the various opinions, and then he tells you which one is the strongest opinion. He says, Imam Nawawi, the prayer known as Salat al-Raga'ib, I'm struggling with that pronunciation, which is 12 units of prayer performed between Maghrib and Isha on the first Friday night in Rajab, and the 100 units of prayer performed during the middle night of Sha'ban. That's coming up. I have a fatwa on this by Imam Muhammad Zuhaili about Sha'ban and some of the things that people invent in this month. These two prayers are reprehensible and repugnant innovations. There is no known mention of them in the books Qutul Qulub or Ihya al-Ulumuddin, and there's no, obviously this is Ihya al-Ulumuddin by Imam Ghazali, and there's no hadith that mentions either of them. It's all baseless, and one should not be misled by those imams who have obscured their rulings in written documents about their being recommended. They are mistaken in this matter. The Shaykh, the Imam, Abu Muhammad Abdul Rahman ibn Ismail al-Maqdisi, may Allah have mercy on him, has written a valuable book that negates both of them, and he did an excellent job. So he's referring to another book that you can read on the topic. Don't think it's been translated, but it's another book that makes it clear that this prayer known as Salat al-Raga'ib and this other prayer that people do in Sha'ban is baseless. It has no foundation in the Quran or the Sunnah or the revealed law in general. As for fasting, so now she moves on. As for fasting, nothing has been authentically related from the Prophet ﷺ nor his companions regarding the virtue of fasting Rajab in particular. However, it has been related from Abu Qalaba that he said, in paradise there is a related from Abu Qalaba that he said, in paradise there is a palace for those who fasted Rajab. She continues, and she says, rather, what has been related regarding fasting in all the sacred months is the hadith of Mujiba al-Bahiliya, on the authority of her father or uncle, that the Prophet ﷺ said to him, fast some days in the sacred months and leave some days. Okay, and just to clarify before I go on, obviously Abu Qalaba is one of the Tabi'een. So that's like the close thing. We don't have anything from companions. We don't have anything from the Prophet ﷺ. We have a statement from one of the Tabi'een. Okay, so the next thing we have. So she says after that she mentions another hadith as been related by, it's on the authority of Ata, that Urwa said to Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, did the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fast in Rajab? He replied, yes, and he would honor it, and he said this 3 times. This hadith has been related by Abu Dawood, and it is mursal, meaning it's the chain of transmission kind of ends. It ends at the level of the tabi'a, with the name of the companion, or whoever is above the tabi'a is not there. So it's not a complete narration. Going back to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what we have here in these 2 narrations is we have the first one from Mujib al-Bahiliya, fast some days in the sacred months and leave some days. So it's a general thing that includes that's not specific to Rajab, that's just refers to or applies to all 4 sacred months. Fast some days and leave some days. And then we have another narration that is mursal, saying the Prophet ﷺ would fast in Rajab and he would honor it. Then we have another hadith that is related by Ibn Majah, and it is stated that Usama bin Zayd, may Allah be pleased with them, would fast the sacred months, and then the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said to him, fast Shawwal. Therefore, he left fasting the sacred months and fasted Shawwal until he died. And she puts in a note here, she says there's a cut in the chain of transmission. So Shawwal was stressed more, based on this narration. Is on the authority, Asma Ramadan continues, she said, is on the authority of Zayd bin Aslam, may Allah be pleased with him, that he said, it was mentioned to the Messenger of Allah, may Allah bless him, grant him peace, that some people were fasting Rajab, and he said, what about their fasting in Sha'ban? And then is on the authority of Kharsha ibn Hur, that he said, there's one before that, as Hara ibn Sa'id al-Jumahi related from his mother, that she said, that she asked Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, about fasting Rajab. She replied, if you are someone who fasts, then you must fast in Sha'ban. Then she says, is on the authority of Kharsha ibn al-Hur, that he said, I saw Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, striking the hands of people in Rajab so that they would put them in the bowl, i.e. they would eat. And he would say, eat. This is a month that the people of ignorance would exalt. She continues, she says, it is on the authority of Abi Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, that Nafi ibn al-Harith, one of the distinguished companions, entered upon his family, and they had new baskets and small jugs. He said, what is this? They replied, we're fasting Rajab. He then said, are you making Rajab like Ramadan? He then turned over the baskets and shattered the jugs. It is on the authority of Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that is, he disliked for anyone to fast the whole month of Rajab, and is on the authority of Ibn Umar, Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with both of them, that they opined, they had the opinion, that some days should not be fasted. Imam Shafi'i, in his old school, i.e. the method that he founded when he was in Iraq, said, I dislike for a man to fast an entire month the way he fasts Ramadan. What has been related to us from Imam Ahmed, may Allah have mercy on him, this is Asma Ramadan speaking, not Imam Shafi'i, what has been related to us from Imam Ahmed, may Allah have mercy on him, is that whoever fasts the whole year can fast all of Rajab, and if not, then one should not fast all of it. Rather, one should break his fast therein and not make it resemble Ramadan. So if someone has that habit where they fast the entire year, this is a unique case, then fine, and then they may as well fast all of Rajab. But if you're not someone who fasts every day, then do not fast every day in Rajab. She continues, she says, it is in the Musnad of Imam Ahmed on the authority of Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, that when he saw the people preparing for Rajab, he disliked it, and he said, fast therein and break your fast. Another narration, it is on the authority of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. She said, the Prophet ﷺ would fast 3 days from every month, and sometimes he would delay them so that he can make them up in Sha'ban. And that is fasting. Then we have zakat. As for zakat, it has become the custom of people in certain countries to pay their zakat in the month of Rajab, and there is neither a foundation for this in the Sunnah, nor was it a known practice amongst any of the first 3 generations, i.e. as-salaf as-salih. Let's go back to the hadith that's in Bukhari and Muslim, خَيْرُ قُرُونِ قَرْنِي ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, or the best of my ummah, or the best generation is my generation, then those who follow them, then those who follow them. She continued, she said, but in any case, zakat is only obligatory after one's wealth has passed the threshold and has been in one's possession for 1 lunar year, whatever month it happens to fall in. Okay, and this is especially according to the Shafi'i school for Hanafis. If you're a Hanafi listening to this, there are some videos I watched a long time ago by Sheikh Harun Hanif, who's based in the UK, studying in Damascus. He has some videos I've seen on YouTube where he's explaining how zakat works in the Hanafi madhab. For us, what we're talking about here is zakat al-naqd. Basically, your zakat of money, zakat of really, I would translate probably as savings. I think for the Hanafis, it's probably better to say call it more like an income, more like a zakat on your income. Because for us, it's the money. If money comes into your possession and it's over the threshold, it has to stay in your possession for 1 full year. Okay, so I have a footnote here that says the author is speaking specifically about zakat al-naqd, or zakat on money, which is 2.5% of one's monetary savings after 1 lunar year has passed, on the condition that the wealth was a certain amount for that period of time. So what we mean by that is that if the wealth goes down, if your wealth goes down below that nisab, that threshold, at any point, then it cancels it out. So to give you an example, if you have, say, you get paid, you get your paycheck, for example, and you get £2,000 or something. Okay, so you've gone over the threshold now, which would be 84 grams of gold approximately in the Shafi madhab, and about 200 grams of silver in the, 200 dirhams, which would be 588 grams of silver approximately in the Shafi madhab. And again, we say, just as a side note, we say here that it's better to go by silver, because silver usually tends to fall, that amount of silver, 588 grams, it tends to fall somewhere in the range of maybe 300, 400 pounds or something like this. Whereas gold, the equivalent of 84 grams of gold, usually falls somewhere in the range of well over 2,000 pounds. So, for example, if you want to go by gold, for example, if you have over 2,000 pounds in savings in your account for well over a year, for over a year, 1 lunar year, then you pay zakat on it. If your wealth, your savings goes below that threshold at any point in the year, you cancel it out, and then you start again when that money comes back to you, when you earn that money again, if you do. So it doesn't mean, because as far as I know from the Hanafi madhab, it's if your wealth goes above that nisab, goes above that threshold, you get like a lump sum of money, you get a paycheck, for example, then 1 year on from that date in the lunar calendar, you're paying. So you get paid on Rajab the 5th, 2,000 pounds, Rajab the 5th, 1439, on Rajab the 5th in 1440, you're going to be paying some sort of zakat, regardless of whether that wealth is still there, whether it's gone below the nisab or above the nisab, or whatever. But again, I would ask you to refer to those videos that Sheikh Harun has done that are available on YouTube. I do not want to be speaking on behalf of the Hanafi school. I'm just showing you the distinction that I've noticed between the Hanafi school and the Shafi'i school. So, back to zakat. I think that's, yes. So what she's saying here is that you can't, especially going to the Shafi madhab, you can't say, I'm going to pay my zakat on naqd, my zakat on money in Rajab or in Ramadan or in Muharram or whatever it is. You can't say this. It depends on when the wealth came into your possession. Did it pass the nisab? Did it pass the threshold? Was it of greater value than 588 grams of silver approximately, or 84 grams of gold? Did it stay in your possession for 1 lunar year? Whatever month that happens to fall in, that's when you pay. Okay, moving on. So as for performing Umrah, i.e. in Rajab, Imam Ahmed has related in his Musnad, as well as Ibn Majah in the chapter on pilgrimage rites, on the authority of Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Prophet ﷺ performed an Umrah on Rajab, and Aisha reproached him for doing so. He listened and remained silent. It is on the authority of Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, that he performed Umrah in Shawwal and Rajab. This is Ibn Umar, right? This is Abdullah ibn Umar, the son of Umar ibn Khattab, may Allah be pleased with both of them. It is on the authority of Sa'id ibn Musayyib, may Allah be pleased with him, that he said, I shall perform Umrah towards the end of Dhul Hijjah, and she perform an Umrah from Medina and enter Ihram at Dhul Hulayfa. It is on the authority of Yahya ibn Abdurrahman ibn Hatib from his father, who said, I performed an Umrah with Omar and Uthman in Rajab. It has been related that the month of Rajab contains significant events, the most significant of them being the event of the night journey and the ascent, i.e. the Isra al-Mi'raj. But there has been difference of opinion as to when this event actually occurred. The preferred position is that it took place after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had returned from Ta'if, but the exact year in which it took place has not been specified. Imam ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the Amir al-Mu'mineen for the Hadith, has decisively affirmed that it took place 1 year before the Hijrah, and Allah knows best. The vast majority of Muslims hold the position that this event took place in body and spirit, and thus is one of the dazzling miracles that Allah honored the Prophet ﷺ with in order to make firm his heart and bestow honor upon him. Right. So this is the dominant opinion of the Muslims, is that the Isra Mi'raj, when the Prophet ﷺ went to Jerusalem and then ascended into the heavens, and met the prophets and prayed with them and received the command from Allah to pray. This when a prayer was made an obligation. That this was done in body and spirit. It was not a dream. It was not a spiritual experience. It was in body and spirit. She continues. She says, when the Prophet ﷺ was taken on the night journey to Jerusalem, among the signs that he saw on the way were the following: seeing the terrain of the paradise as well as that of the fire, seeing our master Musa, our master Isa, and the tree of Ibrahim, peace be upon them, seeing the pillars of the book being carried by the angels, the scent coming from the pure grave of Mashita, Pharaoh's daughter, and the Prophet, may Allah bless him, and the Prophet ﷺ saw the state of this worldly life, and he came across a caller from the Jews and the Christians, but he didn't respond to him. He, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, saw the Dajjal, the state of those. He saw the Dajjal, he saw the state of those who leave off prayer and zakat. The state of those who leave off prayer and zakat was revealed to him, as well as that of fornicators, highway robbers, consumers of usurious gain, and preachers of sedition. Likewise, the state of those who fight in Allah's way was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, as well as the states of the people of paradise and those of the fire. All of the above took place on the way to Jerusalem, and the details thereof are many. And then, when the Prophet ﷺ entered al-Masjid al-Aqsa, he found Ibrahim, al-Khalil, Musa, and Isa, amongst a large group of prophets, peace be upon them, that had been gathered for him. Jibreel alayhi salam put him forward, and he led all of them in 2 units of prayer. Then they praised Allah the Exalted and reminded one another of the hour. Then 2 drinking bowls were brought to the Prophet ﷺ, one containing milk and the other wine, and he chose the milk. Jibreel then said, praise be to Allah, who guided you to man's natural disposition, i.e. his fitrah. Then he took the Prophet ﷺ and ascended with him into the sky, and when he was in the sky of this world, he ﷺ saw the fire and the ways its people are punished. He also met the angels and the angels who guard the fire. Then he ascended with the Prophet ﷺ, with Jibreel, into the 7 heavens, where he met the prophets, peace be upon them, and he saw his ummah, may Allah's blessings and peace be upon him. Then the Prophet ﷺ entered paradise, and described it as that which no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and nothing like it has ever occurred to the heart of any human being, and so forth. He saw the Kawthar river, and he even, ﷺ, gave glad tidings to the noble companions that he had seen their abodes in paradise. So when he came back, he actually said to the companions, to some of them, that he had seen their abodes in paradise. And also the Kawthar, this is referring to this is what is referred to in Surah Al-Kawthar, right? In the 108th chapter. Then he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reached the low tree of the utmost boundary, Sidrat al-Muntaha, which is referred to in Surah An-Najm, the 53rd chapter, verse 14. So, just find that again. So, the low tree of the utmost boundary, which was the limit of what he ascended to in terms of the earth. And then he was taken from there. Then he reached the limit of that which falls from above it, and was taken from there. At that point, he saw sublime light, and then a cloud covered the low tree. Jibreel, peace be upon him, stayed back while the Prophet ﷺ ascended until he reached a level at which he heard the screeching of pens. His Lord then spoke to him, and that was when the 5 prayers were made obligatory upon him. This place in the sky was exclusively for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his ummah were exclusively given the final ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah. Also, whoever does not associate partners with Allah will be forgiven. He was given 3 titles: the Master of the Messengers, the Messenger of the Lord of all creation, and the Leader of the Radiant. Just checking the footnote here. Sayyid al-Mursaleen, Rasul Rabbil Alameen, Muqa'id al-Ghur al-Muhajjalin. So this is just the immense blessings that we bestowed upon the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the night of the Isra wal Mi'raj. She continues, she says, there has been some difference of opinion regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam seeing his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala during the night journey and descent. The preferred position that he, may Allah bless him and peace, saw his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala with the eyes in his own head that night. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In conclusion, the people of ignorance would devote themselves in Rajab to supplicating against oppressors, believing that it would be accepted from them. There are well-known reports about this, and they have been mentioned by Imam Ibn Abi Dunya in his book Mujabi ad-Da'wa and others. This was mentioned to Umar al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with them, and he said, indeed Allah would do that to them to restrain some of them from others, and Allah has made the hour their appointed time, and the hour, i.e. the day of judgment, is more calamitous and bitter. Zaida ibn Abd al-Raqad has narrated on the authority of Anas, may Allah be pleased with them. Zaida ibn Abi al-Raqad has narrated on the authority of Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, that he said, when Rajab had entered, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, O Allah, bless us in Rajab and Sha'ban and make us reach Ramadan. Now, this is the dua we should all be saying. Allahumma balighna Ramadan, right? We should bless us. Barakna fi Rajab wa Sha'ban. Bless us in Rajab and Sha'ban and make us reach Ramadan. Imam Bukhari, may Allah have mercy on him, said, Zaida is munkar in hadith, which means which makes the hadith weak in terms of its chain of transmission, especially since no one else has related it regarding the virtue of Rajab. Right, so there is weakness in this hadith, but in terms of the meaning is sound. Despite that, it contains evidence that it is recommended to ask Allah to be allowed to live in order to witness virtuous times, so that one can perform righteous actions therein. Indeed, the believer does not increase in age except that he increases in goodness, and the best of people are those who have long lives and do good works. The first 3 generations, Salaf al-Salih, the companions, the Tabi'een, Atba' Tabi'een, who are a hujjah, they are proof. The first generation is deemed desirable to die after righteous deeds, such as fasting Ramadan, or after completing Hajj, and they would say, whoever dies like that will be forgiven. One of the righteous became ill just before the month of Rajab, and he said, I have asked Allah to delay my death until the month of Rajab, for it has reached me that in that month Allah has people whom He spares punishment. Allah answered him, and he died in Rajab. The month of Rajab is the key to the months of goodness and blessing. Abu Bakr al-Warraq al-Balkhi said, the month of Rajab is the month of cultivating, the month of Sha'ban is the month of irrigating, the month of Ramadan is the month of harvesting what was cultivated. It is also related from him that he said, the month of Rajab is like wind, the month of Sha'ban is like clouds, the month of Ramadan is like rain. One of them said, the year is like a tree, the month of Rajab is like the days of leaves sprouting, the month of Sha'ban is like the days of branching, Ramadan is the days of gathering, and the believers are the gatherers. It would be appropriate for the one who has blackened his record, i.e. someone who's accumulated sins. Alright, that's what he means by blackening his record. It would be appropriate for the one who has blackened his record with sins to whiten it with repentance in this month. And whoever has wasted his life so far in frivolity should seize the opportunity this month to rectify what remains of it. And then she quotes a line of poetry, whiten your black record in Rajab with righteous deeds that will save you from the fire. One of the sacred months has come. If one calls on Allah therein, he will not be rejected. How good is the slave who purifies his deeds therein and refrains from vile deeds and suspicion. So seizing the opportunity to do good deeds, she commenting now, so seizing the opportunity to do good deeds in this month, availing oneself of this time to do acts of obedience, taking advantage of this month to do acts of obedience, to do this has an immense virtue. Then a final line of poetry. O slave, turn in repentance and seize Rajab, for indeed my pardon for the one who repents is necessary. In these months the doors are open. For those who repent, flee towards us, meaning go towards Allah. Dismount your riding beasts at the gates of our mercy. With a good opinion, for everyone obtains what they seek. We have showered our compassion upon them. Showering is a good acceptance. The one who covers the distance will be successful. And that is the end of the article. There's a few sources that she mentions here below, like the Mujmu' of Imam Nawawi, Al-Muqdi by Imam Muwafiq ibn Qudama, Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, Al-Taf al-Mu'arraf by Imam ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, and so forth. So this is, alhamdulillah, it's a nice summary. Mashallah, I've noticed while reading it, I do have a few typos that need correcting, but alhamdulillah, this is a nice summary of what we should be doing in Rajab, how to benefit from Rajab, the significance of Rajab, what is authentic about it, what is not authentic about it, in terms of righteous action and so forth. And inshallah, I hope the believers, the listeners, benefit from this. And with Allah alone is every success. And inshallah, Asma Ramadan, mashallah, she has a few more articles like this, especially about Ramadan, so I will probably do those Ramadan ones. There's one about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Ramadan. They're translated on my blog. They're translated and they're on my blog, but I will probably read them out again, read them out for the first time, I should say, when Ramadan approaches. Inshallah, if Allah allows us to live that long. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.